All right, welcome. It is 4th of July weekend. I think it's Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it? 2 days after the 4th of July. Didn't get out to do any fireworks, though, but my roommate did, and everybody's kind of relaxing and chilling. So anyways, welcome tonight. I don't know what I'm doing tonight, to be honest with you. I do and I don't, because okay, look, I've written some new arguments, but they're pretty specific. I mean, obviously my paper was very, nuanced and things of that nature. And so the way I'm trying to do my argumentation is going to be a little more on a higher level. And so I don't know, it's going to be hard to explain some of this stuff. I'm going to try. But anyways, welcome, Binge Thinker. And who else is joining us? So I'm just going to jump into this because I think I am the maximally greatest Lacktheist of all time. I don't know who else spends their time just refuting the absolute nonsense of Lacktheism. And the reason why I do, so people are like, why are you so obsessed with this? The reason I do is because I believe that atheists should be critical thinkers. If they're going to be non-believers, they should be critical thinkers. And they're not, unfortunately. And it sucks. So I write formal logical arguments, and the dumbest retorts I've ever seen in my life come from lack-belief atheist. They say the stupidest things I've ever seen. Some of the comments I've gotten so far from 2 new logical arguments that I've came out with that I think I've pretty well vetted. I've had a few people look them over. I've checked them in like 5 different AIs to make sure the logic's all correct, which of course isn't perfect, but when you have 5 and they all say the same thing and cross-reference, and you have mathematicians and philosophy dudes go, yeah, that makes sense, and your logic correct, then I tend to think that I've worked out the kinks. But the comments I get are like, well, you haven't proved your God exists, when I don't believe in God. Or, oh, you're just trying to confuse people with logic. Well, no, I have very simple argumentations. Some of them are super, super, super basic. I've had somebody say, hey, explain to me this as if I was 5. I do so, and they still don't get it. Or worse is when they say, oh, well, you need to prove your argument. Okay, here's my logical proof. Well, that's not proof. What do you think a logical argument is if not proof? How could you tell me something's not a logical argument? How could you tell me something isn't a proof when it logically is a proof that follows from premises that are logically and validly, inductively, or deductively followed from each other? That the premises are true. And if you don't think the premises are true, which ones do you find false? Hi, Shill. So, like I said, I don't know how this is going to go tonight. Not 100%. I am drinking coffee to try to get myself feeling a little better. You have your up days and your down days. I was feeling great for a while, but today is one of my down days. It's so hot. That's why I didn't even feel like going out for July night. It's just been so miserable here, and people just want to stay home with the AC on. It got to 124 degrees in Palm Springs this month. 24 degrees. For you Brits out there, that translates to 51.1, I think, degrees Celsius. So if you guys complain about, 85 degrees Fahrenheit or, 40 some odd degrees Celsius or whatever it is, yeah, that's not hot. When you hit 51 degrees Celsius, then you can say it's hot, because it was the hottest I've ever seen here was 50 degrees Celsius. And that was 122 degrees Fahrenheit. And you guys don't know what it's like to live in 122 degrees weather. Anyways, Armageddon's fire. Hey, welcome. All right. So let's get started. So real quick, I put this on my Twitter. And again, I don't know how I'm going to be able to explain this. I'm going to try. I really am going to try. But we'll go through my 2 newest arguments. I did put the link in the video description, so you can go check it out on my blog and see what you think. But like, for example, this particular argument here, checked it in Chat GPT, checked it in Gemini, checked it in Copilot, checked it in Pi AI, and checked it in Socrates. Each one of those some of them are LLMs, large language models. I think one of them is not. Each one comes up with a very nuanced view of logic, which may or may not be correct. Oh, yeah, you guys can have it. Take it in Winnipeg. You can have all the heat. Doesn't heat supposed to rise? Isn't it supposed to go to your Canadians? Heat rises, right? Well, we stuck with it. 26 degrees Celsius. Oh, that's such a shame, man. You have it so rough. That's room temperature. That's literally like room temperature. Room temperature is like 76 degrees. Was that 78 degrees? So 76 to 78 degrees is room temperature. So 26 degrees Celsius is about 28 degrees Fahrenheit. No, wait, no, 78 degrees Fahrenheit, right? Yeah, that's room temperature. So yeah, I don't want to hear it. But anyway, so I checked these. I thoroughly went through them. I was working with a mathematician friend of mine. We were trying to make some of the rules work out properly, because the way I was doing it, I had to use, if you guys are familiar with calculus, if you've done calculus, there's something called parts by integration. And parts by integration is when you try to integrate something and you take it into a dummy variable. And then you integrate that, then you bring the dummy variable back out. Anybody who's done parts by integration has used a dummy variable. And so in order to make this work, I thought about using a dummy variable, and I made it work. I made it work using a parts by integration method, even though I wasn't doing integration. So, but it is nice that once you kind of know how to do one thing, it kind of leads to other things. But anyways, so this is my pinned comment now. This is how I'm confident that I've worked out the bugs, but if not, that's what I want people to show me. Because somebody did find an error in my proof. I put it on Twitter for a couple of days, or yesterday or something like that. And yeah, they found an error in the logic. And I was like, holy cow, let me check this out. Checked out what they said, and they were absolutely right. That's the nice thing about having objectivity when you're doing logic and critical thinking. If somebody shows you an error, you can objectively go look at it, right? You can objectively say, this is in fact an error, and you can correct it. But when I have people tell me my logic's wrong, and then they give me some stupid BS thing, and their logic is incorrect, and I know it's incorrect, and I can check it in a logic checker and see it's incorrect, and yeah, it's kind of infuriating, right? So Kevin says, still waiting to see not being P is distinguishable from B, not P. Well, that's simple. Believing something true does not, not believing something is true doesn't mean imply that you have to believe something is true. They're two different things. They're distinguishable. Believing is a positive epistemic disposition. Not BP is not a positive epistemic disposition. So that's how you figure out if it's distinguishable. The difference between not BP and B not P is that one has a positive epistemic status and the other one doesn't. There you go. Now you know. See, it's simple, right? All right. So I was like, wrong, Matt Dillahunty, wrong, Lacktheist, wrong, Jason Jules. This guy I had on my show for like 2 hours explaining to him this stuff, and he wasn't getting it. The penny wasn't dropping, even though people are like, dude, this guy's a brick. And now he thinks he understands it better than I do, just like, typical Lacktheist. And he's going to make a video showing that I'm wrong. He says he doesn't need to use logic to do it. I'm like, well, if you're going to do a proof, how are you going to do without logic? Oh, I don't need to do a proof. I'm just going to show you because it's so simply, your mistake is so basic. I'm like, really? Okay. You're going to do cited dictionary, aggravatum ad dictionarium. Mm-hmm. Kevin says they're different conceptually and linguistically, but I've yet to see a different in brain states to the concepts and labels refer to. One's a positive epistemic disposition, the other one's not. Those are two different brain states. One brain state, you have a positive belief. The other one, you do not have a positive belief. That's pretty simple. Now, there is something called negation raising you might want to look into, Kevin. Neg raising is what they typically call it. Neg raising or negation raising is when you say something along the lines of, like, I don't think I'm going to go to the party tonight. And that's interpreted as you're not going to go, right? So it raises it from merely I do not to I do. I do not believe to I do believe. So that's something that affects people in English because of linguistics. When you're looking at the predications and the semantic content, it gets into some pretty complicated stuff with linguistics that I myself am not familiar with, but I do know enough that that's what negation raising does. But as far as the brain state, one's just a positive epistemic status and the other one's not. All right. So anyways, Jason Jewell is going to make a video. It's going to be stupid. I already know. I could tell you right now, he doesn't understand anything what I'm talking about. So how is he going to refute my arguments? So let's run it by you guys. Okay. So I say logic doesn't care about the Fifi of Lacktheist, which is absolutely true. And I've also got this on my blog right here. Okay. So you can go to my blog and see it in the link, but we're just going to do it on Twitter for right now. Actually, what do you guys think is easier to read? I'll let you guys. You guys are the ones watching this. Is it easier to view off my Twitter here or my blog here? Which do you prefer? First one gets it. First one to tell me which one they prefer to make it easier to see. This is my blog. This is Twitter. So whoever has a preference, you get it. And I say, argument. If atheism is defined as this would be the Google definition of disbelief or lack of belief in the existence of God, then to maintain logical symmetry, then theism should be defined as disbelief or the lack of in the non-existence of God. You know what? I'm going to switch over here. Remind myself. Should be if atheism is defined as the Google. So I can fix that later. Twitter. I like Twitter better too. So we're going to go with that. All right. So basically what I'm saying is look, if atheism is defined by two different things, right? According to Lacktheist, there are two necessary conditions for atheism. There is the belief there's a God, or belief there's no God, or you lack a belief there is one. That's Lacktheism in a nutshell. And even then, some of them don't even accept belief in God as atheism. They call it anti-theism for some stupid reason. And in a way, it kind of makes sense that they don't have a position for it, because if you read Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, Dr. Draper makes it very clear that if you have a psychological condition of lack of belief, you cannot get a propositional belief out of it. So the belief that there is no God is incoherent if you start with lack of belief. If you say atheism and lack of belief, you can't get to belief, because one's a psychological state, the other's a propositional. So there's a problem there. You can't derive a propositional state from a psychological one like that. So the definition by Google is that disbelief or lack of belief in the existence of God. So when people say, well, Steve, you're using the wrong definition, I'm like, I'm using your definition. I've always used your definition. I've always used the Google definition in my arguments to show why that is problematic. You know, I could actually make this larger too. There you go. You don't need everything else. There you go. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. All right. So here's my proof. Let's walk through the proof. So first I start with my proof. I start with a conceptualization. And I say, example, if X is an animal, it is a cat or dog. If X is not an animal, it cannot be then a cat nor dog. Now think about that. It's pretty straightforward, isn't it? If X is an animal, I'm just saying it can be a cat or a dog. It could be many other ones, right? This is not a false dichotomy. People say, well, that's a false dichotomy. No, it's not. It's not supposed to be a strict dichotomy. It's just I'm offering two things that could be. If I tell you I have an animal and it's either a cat or a dog, you can guess, but I don't have a bird, right? So just because you're given two options does not mean it's a false dichotomy. And atheists need to stop throwing those fallacies around. They need to stop saying, oh, that's a false dichotomy. No, it's only a false dichotomy if you say there's only two metaphysically possible combinations when there's more than two. Of course, there's more metaphysical combinations than just dog or cat. But I'm not giving you those options because I only have a dog or a cat. I'm just saying, maybe. All right, so if it's an animal, though, it could be a dog or a cat because they're both animals. But if it's not an animal, if what I have in my hand is not an animal, you automatically know it's not a cat nor a dog. Why? Because cat or dogs are animals. Does it make sense? I mean, and I wanted to explain this intuitively before I even broke it down into logical format. So I say, if we apply this to God, then we get this. If atheism is A, believes God does not exist, or B, does not believe God exists, then not X, we're going to call it theism, cannot be A, believes God does not exist, nor B, does not believe God exists. In other words, if you are a theist, you cannot hold the belief that God does not exist. Why? Because you're a theist. And again, we're not trying to get into the strict meanings of terms here. Don't think of it specifically as terminology as atheism or theism. Think about the logic. If atheism is a a disjunction between A and B, watch. So to say X is either A or B implies not X cannot be A nor B. Thus, if X can be defined as this. So X is either A or B, meaning A is one condition, B is another condition. This follows directly from the Google definition, disbelief or lack belief. You guys with me on that? So A is the disbelief, B is the lack of belief here. You guys with me? Okay. If I want to frame this in negation, I can say not X is defined as neither X nor B. Now, again, I will tell you, and I thought about this. This is not generally how you would write a logical proof. I admit this. And my friend who's a mathematician caught this very thing. And he pointed out to me. And I said, I already know that. I already ran into that problem. But I want to do it this way because I want to be able to somebody who doesn't know understand logic the way my friend would, that it would at least make sense to them. And he's like, no, I totally get it. It's fine. It's not like you're, writing for a math paper or something like that. So this is logically correct, but it's not normally how you would do it. The words neither nor is not basically found in logical proofs. There's reasons for that because you can write things in other terminologies. But this is correct here, right? If atheism is A or B, then theism has to be neither A nor B, right? A theist cannot hold the belief there's no God. And theist cannot lack a belief that there isn't a God. Theist is somebody who believes there's a God, or I will prove somebody who doesn't believe that there isn't a God. So this is actually logically followed from this. So I say we therefore get X, not X, is neither X nor B. Not X is. I should put this down here. I think I fixed that on my. I think I fixed that here. Yeah, I fixed it here. Yeah. Because you got to remember, this was a tweet. I only have so many hours to correct it. So I fixed this in my blog. My blog is actually, this is actually correct. I'm going to just use the blog real quick because I actually fixed some errors in my blog. I say, we therefore can get, let me scroll down. I know you guys like Twitter better, but this one's actually correct. We therefore get X is neither A nor B, or not X is not A and not B. Now, this is where the math and the logic comes in, right? The way I did this, and I'm not going to walk you through it. You're going to have to do it on yourself because it's just going to take too much time. But I say we can then express not X as A, not A and not B by its contrapositive, negation rule, and De Morgan laws as not X equals or defined by not A and not B. So I assume Y equals not X. This is where I use a dummy variable. I take the contrapositive, applying the implication equivalency here, apply negation, apply negation again. It's called double negation. I applied De Morgan's rules, and then I take out the assumption. Again, I'm not going to go through it specifically because it's a little bit tedious. I admit this more so than even my other ones. So if you guys want to go check the logic, you can have to do it yourself. But I didn't say if X is atheism, then not X is theism, then and not X theism. If atheism either, quote, believes God does not exist, or, quote, does not believe God exists, which is A, or B, then logically, to maintain logical relationships, theism would be does not believe God does not exist, or believes God exists, which is not X, is defined as not A or not B. Conclusion. Then logically, to maintain logical relationships, theism would be does not believe God does not exist, or believes God exists. This is just saying, this is a very fancy formal way of saying that if atheists get to define atheism using by two things that are sufficiency conditions rather than merely necessary conditions, then theists get to do that, because you cannot just have it for atheism. That is literally special pleading. That's textbook special pleading. And it also breaks the symmetry logically, because logically, if you start off with two conditions, X or B, forgetting anything about atheism or theism, if you just start off with two conditions, X or B, then the negation of it has to have A and B in it to be logically consistent, which is down here. One sec. Gosh darn it. I'm going to go back to my Twitter now, so you just scroll. There we go. It has to have this in it. If my initial conditions are X is defined as A or B, right? Then to have logical symmetry, you have to have A and B still. What ends up with lacktheism is you have A or B, but theism all of a sudden just becomes not A. Why? Why? What is the justification for that? There is none. There is none. You can't have a justification for that. You just can't. Because if you start off with the conditions for the proposition, or the statement, I shouldn't say proposition, but statement. If your statement for X is A or B, then you have to end up with not X being not A or not B. That's just logical consistency. Now, again, not going to go through the whole proof here, but I checked it on AI from Socrates. Initial definition, negation of that by De Morgan's laws, a valid assumption, right, by the contrapositive, right? Mitch masses are initial. These are citational numbers right here, by the way. These 168, which I've included in my blog. There's citations for that. Negation rule. This is a correct application of getting the rule. De Morgan's law, again. Another assumption follows from the assumption, and then the conclusion, directly applied by De Morgan's law. So it says your analysis is logically consistent and correct. The steps follow from each other, and the conclusions are valid based upon the given premises and logical rules applied. The key point is that X, A, or B, and not X, not A, and not B are logically equivalent statements, and all the transformations and rules applied maintain this consistency. Well done on providing a clear and sound analysis of these propositions and the relationships. Maintain this consistency. So my argument here is a very fancy way of saying that Lacktheism is inconsistent in logical structure as far as relating the semantic content to the proposition. I am the greatest maximally greatest anti-Lacktheist of all time. I mean, who else spends their time figuring this stuff out? Did you do it? No. Has Matt Dillahunty done it? No. Would Matt Dillahunty understand it? No. But do you guys understand? I mean, you don't have to understand the logic. I mean, you can accept the logic's correct or not. I don't, whatever. I put the sources down here, you know. But do you understand in a nutshell that if you start off with A or B as a definition for something, then the negation of that needs to have A or B in it to maintain logical consistency. Does anybody not understand? All right. And the other one was a reductionist. I did a really kind of short reductionist of my WASP argument. And I put a legend down so people can understand it, because I did write this in first order logic, which I generally don't use that much. I know a little bit first order, but I was like, yeah, for this, I think I'm going to use first order logic. And so I used first order logic, and I said, look, Lacktheism argues for all of X, you either believe believe there's no God, or you lack a belief in God. That's what these mean. This is how you read this. You say for all of X, upside down A, for all of X, atheism with a sub. This is called an argument here. It's like it's the same word for like an actual argument, but an argument is something you put into a variable or a function. So this is the argument of atheism right here. This symbol right here doesn't mean an actual argument. It means if you ever taken math, you have the value for the function. That's called the argument. And so for atheism, it implies that you either don't believe in. Actually, you either don't believe in God, or you believe God doesn't exist. That's what this is. Is that right? Lacktheism argues and he lacks a belief in God. Yeah, maybe a mistake there. What do you think here? Shouldn't the beginner be C, not be believes God? There should be does not believe God exists. Yeah, I might have to check that. I might have to fix that negator. Let me look into that. But still, it's two things, right? There's two conditions for atheism here, but theism only has one condition: believes there's a God, right? Theism believes God exists. So why does atheism get two conditions? Believe God does not exist or lacks a belief in God, right? But I still think, why is that negator there? I don't know why I did it that way. I think this is right, but I'm trying to think how. How is that? Let me see. For all of X, X does not. Yeah, I think I made a boo-boo there. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to fix that. I'm gonna go back to that one. So see, but here's the thing about logic, right? I recognize an error because I was like, okay, I'm going through this again. I'm like, okay, did I copy this down wrong? Did I do something wrong? I think I did something wrong. Because when I first did it on Twitter, it made sense, but then I copied it over to my blog, and I think I made a boo-boo. Yeah, I think you're right, Dan. That's how I was going to do it. Yeah, I think that's exactly it, Dan. I don't know how I goofed in that. I put the negator on the predication rather than on God. Right? This is exactly it. I can actually fix that real quick. That's weird. I don't know how I did that. But hey, like I said, that's the nice thing about logic, right? You look at it and go, wait a minute here, something's off. I take that as good that we're able to pick up things like that, because somebody wrote to me, oh, you don't understand your own argument. I'm like, I don't. I wrote the thing. How do I not understand my own arguments? Like my paper. How do I not understand my paper? Of course I understand my paper. Yeah. Okay. I think I've got it now. See, Dan, this is why, and this is another reason why I do these things live. I like to be corrected. I like when somebody goes, oh yeah, you made a boo-boo. So let's try this out now. Okay, let's try this out now. So Lacktheism believes God doesn't exist or lacks belief in God. There we go. That makes much more sense, doesn't it, Dan the machine? And then I gotta fix it down below too. 1 sec. Yes. 1 second. Let me fix this completely. Blogging in real time. So this should be that should be that. So I can fix it there, and I can fix it. Yeah. Yeah, that looks much better. All right, let me refresh this. I think this is right, guys. Thank you, Dan. Yeah, thank you. All right, so Lacktheism argues that either it's a belief in God or lacks a belief in God. Theism just gets belief in God. Why is that? Explain to me. This right here is the crux of my argument for everything. Like right there. I cannot be any more reductive. Why does atheism get two things, two sufficiency conditions, and theism only gets one? That is not fair. That is not fair. Somebody said, oh, you said that's not fair. That's so childish. I'm like, no, it's not. When I say it's not fair, I mean, it's not epistemically fair. I'm not trying to say boo-hoo, whiny, emotional. I'm saying that it's not fair as in you're being intellectually dishonest. You're getting 2/3 of the epistemic pie is what I say. Atheists don't get 2/3 of the epistemic pie. Why do they get two conditions and theism only get one? Can any atheist explain this to me? Because I cannot, I have not yet had a single solitary person explain it to me. Why they think atheism gets two and theism gets one that makes any lick of sense besides special pleading, prescriptivism, or argumentum ad dictionarium. Those are the only three things I've heard so far. All of which I will ignore. All of which I will just say is irrelevant or fallacies. Thank you, Dan. He says, to be fair, I get my logical literacy from you, following you. I appreciate that, man. But isn't it pretty cool that we can look at something and go, damn, how'd I screw the pooch on that one, right? This one, by the way, you can tell I didn't vet as much as the other one, because the other one I checked my all of the AIs. I checked this one too, but I think I goofed. So, but I will fix it. But then I just basically say, look, notice the obvious problem. Atheists want two conditions for atheism. They want. Actually, I got to fix that too. This is why I do this live. I don't mind. I do not mind. This is how I see. I don't really work as well when I'm reading, or when I'm just reading to myself, as when I'm reading it to you guys. I think that's how most people generally are, don't you think? Because when you're reading it to somebody and you're looking through and you're actually checking it yourself, you're like, maybe there's a problem here. Maybe word this. 1 sec. Is that right? Nope, that's not wrong. Let me fix that. Yep. Okay. Let's try to update that now. All right. So I say, nope, I still didn't fix it. Dang it. There we go. It's weird how one little negation in the wrong place, right? And this is when people are telling me, oh, you don't understand double negation. Well, yeah, I do. That's why I'm able to figure this out in real time. All right, so let's look at this again, Dan. How about this? I say, notice the obvious problem. Atheist, oh, dang it. Atheists want. There we go. All right. I say atheists want two conditions for atheism: believes there's no God or lacks a belief in God. That's correct. There we go. Is that right? Yay. We figured it out. But only allow theists one condition. How is that not special pleading, guys? Seriously, how is that not special pleading? That is intellectually dishonest. That in textbook special pleading if they don't allow theists to make the same move. And so I say logically, according to Lacktheism, for all of X, atheism is believe there's no God or lacks belief in God, which is for all of X, X believes God does not exist or lacks a belief in God. Okay. 2 is this for theism, though. For all of X, X believes God exists. So why do atheists get to say lack of belief in God is sufficient for atheism, but not lacking belief there is no God is insufficient for theism? And actually, this is wrong. That's wrong. Because I'm saying they do not lack a belief in God. See, first order logic. You got to pay attention to your negations, man. This should be on the negator should be on God there, shouldn't it? Right, Dan? There we go. Watch this. Watch this when I update. Real time blogging. Boom. Fixed. See? So why is it that lacking a belief in God is sufficient for atheism, but lacking a belief there isn't a God isn't sufficient for theism? Anyone? Why? And I said theists can make the exact same move. They can say for all of X, God. See, this is horrible today, huh? You know what? It's actually pretty good because I like the fact that these mistakes can be caught in real time. This is why I'm actually something that I like doing is going online and working with you guys on this. Believes God exists. Okay, one sec. All right, let me update this. Dan says, not meaning to add a layer, but don't Lacktheists also argue lack of belief there's no God? What do you mean? I'm not following. All right, figure that out, Dan, and then let me continue. So I say for all of X believes God does not exist or lacks belief in God. So theists can just say, okay, theism is believes God exists or lacks a belief in the non-existence of God. We've already been over that before, right? I mean, so there's nothing new on my weak atheist special pleading argument, except I'm putting it in first order logic. That's all. And so for those who don't understand the logic, let me dumb it down. Okay. So I said for Lacktheism, one condition A or B is met, then atheism. If condition not A is met, then theism. That's what they're arguing. They're literally saying there's this logic right here that if you meet the condition A or B, we're going to call you an atheist. But if you only meet the condition of not A, we're going to call that theist. So why does the atheist get 2 conditions and theism only 1? Why? And then I wanted to put it in Python because I downloaded Python and I'm trying to play with it again. And so in Python, it would look like this. If A or B, then the belief system is atheism. Else, theism and not A. So what this is saying is basically, if not A, then the belief system is theism. Else, if you have neither of these, it's undetermined. And then I note, never reached according to Lacktheism, because Python will simplify the correlations here. So Python will simplify this and basically say, look, you're always going to be atheist or theist according to this right here, because every condition is met by those two in Python. In just computer programming. That's what I was going to kind of work on a little bit. I just started, so bear with me, okay? Well, I mean, I worked with Python before a long time ago, but I just started learning it like a long time ago and didn't get very far, so I want to relearn a little bit of it. Yeah, just make it easier to read. But do you guys see this? That why I would never get to the undetermined? Because if condition A is met, it goes to atheism. If condition B is met, it goes to atheism. If one of these conditions is not met, or not, excuse me, neither condition is met, then it's theism, not A. Because if you believe there's no God, atheism. If you lack a belief in God, atheism. But if you're not A, but you believe there is a God, we're going to call that theism. So there's really no position here that's where it would ever get to underdetermined. Unless you merely lack a belief that there isn't a God. If you lack a belief there isn't a God, then yeah, I guess it would be undetermined because it would be not a B. So where does not B fall on here? Well, not B would get you underdetermined. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? Hi, Indigo. How are you? So not B would get you to underdetermined. So the way I wrote it, that it would actually be correct in Python. I think, because I don't program in Python, but like I said, I downloaded it. I'm going to be playing with it a little more. If A, then atheism, else B, not atheism, else agnosticism. And I think that is correct, because the logical structure would be, this is atheism, right? For all of X, all of X either believe there's no God or lack of belief in God. Would you guys say that's correct? Indigo, what do you think? Do you think that is correct? Right there. And then 2, for theism, it's believe God exists or lacks a belief that God does not exist. Now, this is not correct here. I can see it right now. It's not correct. Again, this one was not vetted. So, I mean, I had somebody kind of made mine look it over, but I mean, this one was not checked very well, obviously. My first one was. That's why I was a little more confident. But this one wasn't. And so I'm glad I'm checking in real time, because this should be lack of belief that God does not exist. It should be this. There we go. And then agnostic would be somebody who lacks a belief in God, lacks a belief that God does not exist, or basically does not believe God exists and does not believe God does not exist. So I think this is correct here. And I just argue that lacktheism is asymmetrical and dishonest, because lacktheism wants 2 conditions. Theism only gets 1. But that shouldn't be the case, because if you just reverse in a negation, then theism could get 2 positions and atheism can only get 1. So what makes one more fair than the other? You can't cite a dictionary. You can't do that, because that's argumenting ad dictionarium. We're talking about the logic, not the semantics. So it's irrelevant what a dictionary says. It makes absolutely no sense to take a dictionary and say, oh, you're wrong because of the dictionary. No, I'm talking about the logic. Why logically does atheism get 2 sufficiency conditions, but theism only gets 1? All of these are necessary conditions, right? I mean, to be an atheist, you cannot believe in God. So the necessary conditions are you don't believe there's a God, or you believe there is a God. Those are both necessary, but only one sufficient. Belief in a God is a sufficiency condition. Because if I say I believe there's no God, everybody knows I'm an atheist, right? The sufficient condition is already there. I don't believe, which according to Lacktheist is all you need, which is BS, but whatever. But if I tell you I believe there's no God, you should be able to figure out my theological position or my philosophical position, right? It's atheism. But if I merely say I don't believe in God, it's vague. The atheist will say, well, you can figure out what it is. If you say you don't believe in God, you're automatically an atheist, because atheism and theism are a direct dichotomy. No, they're not. Never have been. You can't prove it. You'll never be able to prove it. I challenge you on that, to prove that atheism and theism are a strict logical natural dichotomy. I guarantee you won't be able to do it. I guarantee it. You can't, because the only way you can do it is by artificially, semantically substituting a different word in for non-theist from first basic principles, and that's not honest. That's just, I'm just going to make this stuff up. Nope. You want to prove it, you need to do it by deductive, valid reasoning. Like my proof here. This is This isn't even proof here. This isn't even a proof. This is just three premises, but it's the three premises I think are correct. If you want to check it out in a logic proofer, you can do that. So I'll put it in the live chat there. And he goes, so like, honestly, I can't say for sure. I just feel like stepping into calculus for religion. I feel like well, you know, what's so funny is, you know, I really have no interest in theology, Indigo. I'm not a person who really debates whether God exists or not. I find that to be boring. Because I like debating things that have an objective truth value. And whether God exists or not is very subjective, so to speak, right? It is an ontological truth that God exists or God does not exist. That's fact, right? I mean, it's one way or the other, but I can have different beliefs and positions on that. And so I'd rather debate things like somebody wanted to debate, hey, Steve, can you prove 0.99 repeating equals 1? Yeah, it's objectively true. I can show you the math for it. Hey, Steve, you want to prove that the square root of 2 is irrational? Sure. Whatever. These have objective things to them. So I'd rather debate things that I know I'm right on. When I do a debate, most of the time I try to debate something that I know, at least I'm very strongly convinced I'm right on. But I'd rather debate things that I know I'm right on. Because if I know, I mean, literally knowledge, not just a mere opinion. Like if I want to debate, if X equals X, I think I would win, right? If you want to debate me, then you want to say that X is not equals X. Well, I think you're going to lose, right? Because you're violating the law of identity, and all the literature is going to say you're wrong. You have the principle of explosion. It's just, at that point, what is it you're debating? You're debating a contradiction. You've automatically lost from the onset. If you're thinking, no, X does not equal X, or all of X does not equal X. So I'd rather debate things that have an ontologically truth maker to them or something. That either I can point to something and say, hey, like I have a cup in my hand, right? I have coffee in my hand. I can say, look, here's a cup of coffee in my hand. There's a truth maker that exists that makes that statement, a coffee cup exists, true. Now, is that absolute certainty? No. But it's good enough for all practical purposes when we're talking about demonstrations. I show you a cup, right? But a priori knowledge is even stronger when I start dealing with analytical facts. So if I say that for all of X equals X, yeah, you're going to have a hard time disproving that. Matter of fact, I was messing around with the AIs on that. Even AI they didn't want it to have to ever acknowledge that X does not equal X. They're like, yeah, it would kind of like, everything would just kind of fall apart. So it has to be grounded in that. Could you make a logic where it's not grounded? Sure, you could. You could make a logic where law of identity doesn't hold. What good would it be, though? You could prove anything. Because you wouldn't be like a paraconsistent or altheistic logic where you don't have the principle of explosion. It would literally be, and you could do this, by the way. If you start off with the premise X does not equal X, you can prove anything. Anything. You can prove 2 equals 5. Now, would it be valid? Yes. Would it be sound? No. That's the difference. So, Indigo said exactly how I feel as well. I'd rather not debate something I know nothing about. I used to be a Latter-day Saint. Now I can sometimes atheist. Oh, are you? I was Mormon too, Indigo. Maybe, that's maybe why I had an affinity, to be honest with you. For those of you who don't know, Indigo is a newer content creator. Please go sub to her channel. And she's very cordial, very polite. She does a masterful job on reviewing people's mannerisms and things of that nature. At least that's what I've seen so far. Definitely somebody who's like, not what I consider be a professional, but somebody who definitely has some training and knows what they're talking about. But I used to be Mormon when I was 17. I left the Mormon Church in 2008 completely after they wanted to fund. Was it against Prop 8 or for Prop 8? I don't remember. The one that was for the gay marriage in California, and I was like, why is the church getting involved with this? Why do they care if gay people get married? And that was really the final straw. I was like, why is this the one true church, right? Why is it the church is not letting gay people get married? I mean, it was bad enough about the priesthood and the blacks and things of that nature. But, you're in the church, you kind of hear this, you hear that and stuff. But I wasn't raised Mormon. I was raised around Mormons for years. But I didn't join the church till I was 17. And yes, it was over a girl. She broke my heart. She still hates. We don't like each other to this day, and she's what we're 50 now. Her sister and I, what's so funny is her sister and I adore each other. Her sister was, we adore each, and I always think it's so funny because I think of her as her little sister, right? But her little sister's like 48 or something like that, and I still think of her as a little sister. How weird is that, right? But yeah, so it's cool that you're an ex later Latter-day Saint. So I know you're coming from. I do. I really do. I've read the Book of Mormon twice. Not a fan of it. I'm not going to bash the Mormon Church at all. They, I was in California wards, so they were great people down here. Great people. I have nothing bad to say about any Mormon that I've met in California. Utah Mormons, yeah, different breed. Utah Mormons, yeah, you can go take a long walk off a short pier. Most of them, they're arrogant, they're self-centered, they're preachy. But no, California Mormons that I knew, none of them I don't think I had a problem with. I enjoyed it actually. I went for the socialization of it. But anyways, like I said, Indio is a relatively new name on the same. I think you're gonna hear more from her. I think she's gonna do well. I think I don't know if she knows Jose, the body language guy. If you don't, Indigo, you should go check out Jose, the body language guy. That dude is brilliant. And I like what he does. He puts it on Twitter, right? He'll put his clip on Twitter and say, okay, what do you guys think, before he does an analysis? And I'll be like, this, and this. And then he does the analysis, and it's almost exactly as I have, only, in more precise terminology, because that's what he does. But it is pretty good that I can look at something and go, yeah, that person's full of crap. That person is lying. That person has something they're not saying, kind of stuff, right? So interesting. Most of the Mormons I knew were FBI agents. That's definitely interesting. Really? Well, I mean, I bet you were up in Salt Lake area, right? Provo area. See, Huntington. I lived in Huntington for a while, but I was in St. George. I actually did kind of like St. George. It wasn't until really, it was iffy in St. George, but when I moved to Huntington, oh yeah, I didn't like it up there at all. But St. George was bad. The fishing was great. I do love the fishing in Utah. So, but anyways, you get the gist of it, right? I mean, so I'm going to fix this weak atheist special pleading argument in Python a little bit more, make sure it's correct. I'm going to work with Python a little bit more. But as far as this one I think is pretty airtight. So if you want to go argue that the logical argument for semantic symmetry between atheism and theism is wrong, then good luck with that. Because this one I think is pretty airtight. I even have, like I said, I even had the AI check my logic, and it was completely correct. And a human too. So you guys get it? Hank, do you understand the argument basically? Is that like, if you start off with A or B, you need to end up with A or B for the negation? Hank says, would you debate Euclid's first postulate? Straight lines. No. I'm fine with all the Euclid's postulates except for the fifth is, depending on, if you're going to use Euclidean geometry or non-Euclidean geometry. But Euclid's first postulate is a postulate. You cannot prove it because it's an axiomatic assumption that if you have any 2 points, you can draw a line segment between them. The only way to disprove it is to find 2 points where you can't draw a straight line. Now, obviously, in Euclidean space, you can always do so. In non-Euclidean space, then it's going to be a geodesic straight line, right, Hank? So all geodesic lines in non-Euclidean space are going to have 2 points in space-time, where the shortest distance between them is called your geodesic path. Why are we talking about that, though? Hank says, I understand your argument. Yeah, I know you do. Thoughts by Jay Brown. What's up, buddy? How are you? Frankie. Hi, Frankie. So anyways, that's my presentation in a nutshell. Get out of here, Ad. Get out of here. All right. Well, there you go. One argument that I think is pretty sound, that people are just saying stupid stuff about. Oh, well, you started your argument with if or something. I had that the other day. You started your argument with if. What? Yeah, they literally said that. They're like, oh, well, no argument is right if that starts with if until you can resolve the if. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell that means. That's just gibberish. That's stupid speak. Most arguments start with if. Okay, they're called conditional implications or material implications, whatever you want to call it. A conditional implication or material implication are the same thing. So yeah, when somebody says your argument is wrong because it starts with if, what am I supposed to do with that person? I mean, the comments I get on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, they're just stupid. But then when somebody who does know logic shows an error, I go, oh, wait, you're right. That is how I proofed the first one. Somebody who I knew philosophy was quizzing me pretty bad on it on Twitter. And I wasn't arguing with them. I'm like, can you show me what you're talking about? Show me. Okay. Yeah. Ah, crap. I screwed up. Right? That's how it went. I screwed up. You're right. You know why? Because they were able to show me the logic's wrong. They were able to objectively show me the logic is incorrect. So I will fix my stuff. But if you're just a Lacktheist that says, oh, dictionary, you're not worth my time. Oh, you started your argument with if, you're not worth my time. So that's how I know somebody who actually understands what I'm talking about and somebody who doesn't. Because if you're going to show me something's wrong, show me the actual proof is wrong, right? Show me that there's something wrong with the actual logic. So the first order logic that I use, by the way, I did run it through AI and it didn't find any problems. So I'm pretty sure that it's correct now. Okay. I'm pretty sure, but check it out. Maybe again, negators are my downfall. I will be honest with you. In nuclear power school, when we were doing math, the biggest issue I had was losing a negation somewhere. It's not difficult to lose a negator. If you've ever done calculus or advanced maths, when you're doing a formula, when you're doing, okay, I'm not even joking here. Some of the equations we use would take the entire blackboard. You've seen when people, things like MIT or whatever, when people are, doing these big old long calculations on a chalkboard, that's what it was. And these chalkboards would rise and move around so you can have more room. So you can you wouldn't have to like keep, like erasing and stuff like that. When you would do something like the startup rate equation, it would take a massive amount to derive it. When you're doing mathematics and they would say, okay, here's your math thing, solve for X. Well, it would be very complicated. And I would lose a negator. The answer would be right. Let's say the answer was 12, like minus 12, and I put 12. It would be wrong. Now, you do get partial credit for that. They do know that happens. So they would give you I did like Nuke School that would give you partial credit. It wasn't all or nothing, right? If you lost a negator, they would probably, if they looked through your work and you said, okay, you understand the concepts, you just forgot the negator, they'll penalize you a little bit, but they don't take off everything. So let's say each question is worth 1 point and you lose a negator, you'll get like 0.8 points for it or something like that. So you get a pretty good. Now, if you put like, if the answer is negative 12 and you put 3, yeah, then you're going to get 0, right? Unless you can really kind of show maybe, hey, look, I understood this to the very end. I just made a stupid mistake. You can challenge them. It's really cool, actually. All the tests were reviewed, and when reviewing them, you can challenge the instructor and say, look, you can see here I understood, but I just dropped the negator or I forgot to add this. And they will give you points for that because they're not there to fail you. I mean, it's super hard, but they want you to understand the concepts. And when you review it with them and you're able to explain to them, hey, here's my mistake, they know you know the concepts. Just like when I reviewed this other argument with you guys, I saw there were some negation issues. That's what they're looking for in Nuke School. So anyways, yeah, if you can't show it, you don't know it. Exactly, Kawasa, right? I mean, I clearly can show it, baby. I'm the maximally greatest anti-Lacktheist of all time. Except for my last argument with Python, I gotta fix. But my other argument's spot on, I think, But when somebody told me I don't even understand my own arguments, like my paper, I'm like, are you serious? I mean, come on, this is stupid. But anyways, that's all I've got for you guys tonight, man. It's hot. It's really, really hot here. I am just going to watch TV. I just finished episode 6 of The Boys. Man, that's a good show. Season 5. Oh God, that's such a good show. Not for the squeamish, not safe for work, but a really, really scathing polemic and just scathing satire of political stuff in America. It's really good. It's really good. It's sophistry even in some ways. It's brilliant though. Anyways though, so thanks guys for watching. Thanks Hank. I like my gators. Sure, let's go with that. Gator. You got your gator. I'm down south. But what was it? There was something else I was going to go over real quick. Anything? What was it? I feel like I'm missing something. Oh yeah, I know what it was. Go to my Twitter page and vote for me as the maximally greatest anti-Lacktheist, because I don't know who else can show that Matt Dillahunty is an idiot better than me. I really don't, because Matt Dillahunty is still promoting Lacktheism. He still will never actually address the argument, the logic. And I swear to God, I'm just so tired of hearing people go, "Oh, by definition, by definition, by definition." Got my dictionary here. It's puerile, it's jejune, it's stupid, it's nasty. It sends shivers down my spine that there's non-believers that are just stupid that are in my camp. It's frustrating. So up your game. Don't come at me with a dictionary. Don't come at me with what Matt Dillahunty said. Show me the logic's wrong. The links are in the video description. You can go run it through your AI checkers. You can ask a professional, but just show me the logic wrong. If you show me there's an error in the logic, I will fix it. Just like I did in real time, proving to you guys that I checked this stuff. Like I said, the second argument I didn't vet as well, obviously, and I told you guys that I had. The first one I vetted pretty well. But that's one of the reasons why I like doing things in real time with you guys, because as I read it out, it's easier to me to see if I dropped a negator, put the negator in the wrong spot. So, all right, with that, guys, I'm going to turn the AC back on. I'm dying. It's super hot, and good night.